It is now official. CNN projects that Donald Trump has been elected president, defeating Vice President Kamala Harris and making a political comeback unlike any.
Hello everybody and welcome to today's episode of Common Sense View. My name is Michael and I'm glad to have you here. If you are coming for the first time, please remember to subscribe on your way in, and if you have been here before, please like, share and comment, and let's roll. Today I want us to talk about what I consider the 7 common sense reasons why Kamala Harris lost in the just concluded USA presidential election. Now, I use these 7 reasons because there were other reasons that other pundits and the experts have mentioned or have assigned the reason why she failed. For some people say racism, others say sexism, others say misogyny and things like that. But when you follow things strategically, you realize that even though there is a possibility those things played a part, there were more things that are obvious that play more significant part than those fringe elements. In the scale of those things, what I scale as number one common sense reason why she lost is unclear political identity. Now, from the day she was handpicked till the final day of the election, which was November 5th, it was difficult for anyone to come out and say, this is who Kamala Harris is, definitively. And that is a big problem. She flip-flopped on practically every single view she had had throughout her political career. For instance, when she was running for the presidency in 2019, she was against fracking. She was against drilling, that's the petroleum drilling. She was, to the most part, against combustion engine. She was against designating those who entered the country illegally as illegal aliens, and a host of other things. But what was the case few weeks back? She was for all of these factors. Now, the electorate or the people are generally forgiven, but they have to have the reason to forgive you. The people believe that human beings evolve. Human beings are a bundle of possibilities, but things don't happen in a vacuum. If you change your view from I like eating rice to I don't eat rice anymore, there must be a reason. Yeah, of course, everyone knows that there is a reason. But to convince us that you're not doing it to please us or to get our approval, you have to explain what happened. What led you from point A to point B? You are not for fracking and you were not for fracking and you're not for it. What led you from point A to point B? From not liking fracking, not approving fracking, to approving fracking. Being ready to ban fracking and professing that you will not. What changed you from subscribing for gender reassignment for illegal aliens in the prison to not supporting it anymore? What led you from seeing the wall as a medieval project to something you are ready to support if you are allowed? We know you would have changed. You have seen a lot of factors, including the mass immigration. What is the process? What was the process? And when did it change to become your policy? She couldn't define any of those. And for me, that went a long way to harm her bid for election, electability bid. That harmed it very seriously. Because the people have given you a benefit of doubt, but they wanted you to make a point to them, to give them the reason, something to hold on. When they go to the votes to vote for you, this is the reason why I believe that she's honest to me. On the contrary, Trump is like an open book. Sometimes his problem is that he couldn't cover things up. She couldn't hide a little bit. She couldn't hold back. Your own is a little bit more unmanageable because people are always scared of what they don't know. Now, that is what I believe. And it's not only me. Listen to what some other people said about that.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So do you still...
Being the first interview she agreed to be part of, You see how the conversation went a little bit longer, but for the sake of the time we have here, you can go up and read it too. What would people think is the reason why you change it? And the 2020 debate, she said she changed it. She really didn't change the position. Rather, she said Joe Biden was not against fracking, not herself. That means she was saying the truth, but it was crafty because it wasn't her that said that she was no more against fracking. Yeah, along the line before the election, she categorically stated that. But for me, it was a little bit too late because most people tuned in to this first interview to see, because the air, those who are her surrogates have been saying that she changed, to hear from her if she have changed. But what they got was a politician who was good in maneuvering, meandering from a question and filibustering when she could not meander. So that is on that. The second common sense reason in my tally is weak communication and public image. She lacked a good quality communication skill. And that is a little bit strange considering that she was a prosecutor, or so to speak. Being a prosecutor, one of the ways you make your case is by talking and making some logical and sound argument to be able to present the fact you're posting as genuine and not just cutting and nailing. But she was, the first time I heard the word was salad, or the coinage was salad, was from her. Like, she can repeat one word over and over again in one sentence that you ask yourself, did she just recently learn the word? And then she says things like, what can be unburdened by what has been. And if you go through the last 4 years, this particular adage or this particular sentence have been repeated uncountably until it becomes so nauseous to listen to. But she lacked self-consciousness, self-awareness about that. And that goes with her image. She doesn't know when to laugh. And she laughed when even the joke she's making is not funny. Like, did he fall from the coconut tree? That kind of stuff is cringe-worthy. But she lacked the self-awareness. Or maybe she doesn't. Some people say that she does it when there is a vacuum, that she's unsure of herself. She uses the cackling to fill it up. But I don't think so. It's so impromptu. It's so impromptu that no one can say for sure why she does it. And the repetition of words, it becomes a caricature, something of caricature that you don't even know how to put it to her. But towards the final days of the election, one of the ninth comedians forced themselves to put it out there. So we go and watch.
My fellow Americans, words have many meanings, and sometimes instead of conveying our meaning, they can suggest other meanings.
When we talk about the children of the community, they are children of the community.
Well, we are the United States of America because we are united. And we are states.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time.
Whatever we have in store cannot be known. The past was once the future. The future is, I should say, unknown.
We gotta take this stuff seriously as you are, because you have been forced to have to take it seriously.
Obesity is a serious disease, and it needs to be taken seriously.
You need to get to go, and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home.
I hope that clarifies the issue, and this can be the last word on those words.
Certain issues are just settled.
Clearly we're not.
No, that's right. And that's why I do believe that we are living, sadly, in real unsettled times.
My fellow...
So as you can see, it is so bizarre that at some point you yourself might think that she doesn't understand what she's talking about. You see the two guys sitting there, even though it's comedy, but that is the real reaction of people who listen to her. Sometimes she explains things with words that looks like she's talking to those in the kindergarten. Like when she was describing or trying to explain what the war in Ukraine and Russia was all about. She said, Russia is a big country, and Ukraine is a smaller country that has a border with the big country. The big country, Russia, invaded the smaller country, and that is not good. That is, even the kindergarten will find this uncalled for such person in such level of office. More like describing AI as it is AI, like it has two words, A and I. A standing for artificial and I for intelligence. This is not the way to explain things to people who have level of self-awareness when you're talking to professionals. It's not the way to spend it, and that is the way she talks. So that level of communication skills lacks what most people believe that is the worldliness, the capability, language level of an adult. So that is not the way to talk to adult or professionals in a public domain. So that's on that. So the third reason, in my common sense reason why Kamala lost the election, is limited result as a vice president. Now, most generally, vice presidents are just instruments of the president, or the president's mandate executioners. They just do whatever the president wants them to do. They have their own will, of course. They have their own idea. They have their own thinking faculty. But most of the things they do, official duties they carry out, are only those ones given to them to carry out by the president. But Kamala was also given such duty, and she failed woefully on it. Even though those people who are her eyes and the media who are her torch carriers and her attack dog at the end, they wanted to convince her that she was not the border czar. Let us throw that name and set the name aside. But she was given the duty and responsibility to take care of what was happening at the border. As a matter of fact, if you listen to the debate in 2019, 2020, when Joe Biden said, surge the border. Come, people from all over the world, surge the border. And that was what they listened to. Now, when they saw that it was too much to handle, Joe Biden dedicated it to her to take care of. And it's not my own word. You hear it yourself in this video.
Well, Louis Nicole, this is a key assignment for Vice President Harris. It's a bit of an uphill battle. She admits it'll not be easy, but she says it is so important.
Yeah, but the Vice President's agreed.
Agreed to be the point person on immigration.
Madam Vice President, thank you. I gave you a tough job.
There's no question that this is a challenging situation.
The situation centers around the biggest surge in migrants to cross the U.S.-Mexico border in 20 years. Facilities are overflowing with people. Many are children.
Children should be moving more quickly through those facilities. That is what our policy central focus is right now.
The Biden administration has lost control of the southern border.
But
as you can see, it was not my word. But there were even Jen Psaki who vigorously denied the fact that she was given the duty to be the border czar or person responsible for control what is happening at the border. It's just there. It's not just the commentator, but Jen Psaki herself, as I said. So what happened at that border was a total failure and an indictment on those who are in charge. Because use your house as an example. You can't just let uncountable number of human beings to stoop into your house or ransack your refrigerator and cover where you sleep when your keys are outside. You don't do that. That is how our country is. As a matter of fact, as Trump has always said, most of them are not good people. It doesn't negate the fact that most of them are also wonderful people. But you don't bring in people based on how good and how bad they are. But into a country, you bring in people based on how are they going to be beneficial to the general country's populace. How are they going to be advantageous? Their life in the country going to benefit the economy of the people who live there. Yeah, they claim asylum, but the rule of asylum is you stay at the first border that is not in consonance with what you're running away from. If you're running away from war, the next country near that is not having a war is supposed to be where you seek asylum. But that is not my business, and I digress. You know why you bring them in. So what happened is that the border was a mess at the end of the day. That they were forced to use the executive order that they removed from when they took office. They put it back to stall the influx in order to maneuver people for the election. You see that she talks about the border bill they put that Donald Trump told the Congress people, the Republicans, not to vote for. But you can understand Donald Trump was not in the Senate or in the House. So to have such power is debatable. It's debatable. But what is very obvious is that there was no significant job that she can claim to have done as a vice president. Even though Joe Biden said, I gave her the authority, there's nothing I could do that she couldn't do. That was what he said. If we believe that to be true, then she failed woefully in that duty as the borders are up, this person in charge of the border. So that is on that. The next point in my seven common sense reason why she lost was failure to build trust across party lines. Now, in the Democrat Party, they have two big factions that don't agree with each other. The progressive and the centrist. The progressive people like AOC, they have views like no support for Israel, one of them, extreme climate agenda, what do you call it, medical insurance for everyone. You see, those things are not generally acceptable to the people of the United States, from what I have found out over time. The people in the middle are more where the majority of the population are. But Kamala has always been on the left of the left. Now she has to moderate herself. But if she moderates herself too much, she will anger those progressive who has been her constituency for almost all through her career. But if she doesn't moderate herself, she will alienate the people in the middle who have the larger number of the electorate. So this identity split made it difficult for her to connect with either part in a holistic way. So for me, that was a problem, and she couldn't solve this problem until the election day. And it was obvious, considering the number of young people, especially young men, she was able to get to her side at the end. The fifth common sense reason, in my view, is that Kamala Harris is perceived as an opportunistic and a career-oriented human being who has no value, that she could do practically anything to progress her career, political career. Practically anything, including switching sides and switching views, irrespective of whether they are going to be true at the end or not. Now, this is also evident in her flip-flopping. And a lot of people say that she was the first person to bring up the laws that destroyed San Francisco and destroyed California when she was the Attorney General of California. So, as a matter of fact, everything about her philosophy has a lot to do with this career pursuit. She doesn't have a strong value and strong hold on anything that is tangible, that this is her core philosophy. She lacked that. And a lot of people criticize that so vehemently, and the criticism permeates mere political rhetoric. One of the people who talked so intelligently against Kamala Harris regarding her identity as a woman and a possible first woman president, and the blow it would do to womanhood in America if she happened to succeed. One of such person is Megyn Kelly of the Megyn Kelly Show. Just hear how she articulated it.
This person is weak, and she is stupid. She is not a smart person and far from a deep thinker. She will get eaten alive by Putin and Xi. No one will fear us. She cannot make decisions. The 3 a.m. phone call will leave her paralyzed with fear and indecision. She will fail in her negotiations with our adversaries because she cannot think on her feet. The presidency is not a job you can do for 4 years with training wheels. At some point, you have to make important calls in the moment. You have to think in the moment. You have to be clever. You must outsmart. She couldn't even outsmart the ladies of The View. She is a silly person. Her cackle and unfunny jokes have a deleterious effect on her image, and that image cannot be that of our president. People don't respect her as they must our president and our first female president, okay? The first woman to become the American president must be someone whose intelligence is unassailable, whose facility with the spoken word is something to admire, who can make a point sharply and with ease and with substance without breaking a sweat. We have had female leaders in the world just like this. Kamala Harris is not one of them. Here's one they say Kamala Harris will break barriers, the first woman president, but her election will set women back decades because she is not a smart person. The first female president must be someone our little girls can actually look up to. It must be someone who neither side can question when it comes to her credentials and her ability to do the job. Otherwise, there won't be another one for years. Her incompetence will be chalked up to the fact that she is female. This is about to set us back, not push us forward. Someone should break this barrier, and that person should not and cannot be this person.
So, even though I don't agree with her calling her stupid and senseless, but you see that the majority of the things she said makes sense. To be the first, you have to be exceptionally, or something close to the exceptional. so that the people coming behind have a very high bar built for them, so that if they can't cross the bar, at least they reach that bar. But when the bar is on somebody who have a lot of question marks about her professional and personal identity, which I'm not going to go into details about now, then there will be a problem for those who are coming behind, especially in this demography, the women demography. They have a lot of things to complain about, of course, about inequality and all those stuff. So if you want to beat those so-called inequality or beat those stigma of not allowing you to cross that bar, break the glass ceiling, then you have to be exceptionally wonderful, so that any person who will criticize you will not be on your qualification or your readiness, but on the fact that you are there on merit or not or otherwise. So when you look at that, I don't know how much you subscribe to you accept her criticism. If you have your own doubt or you have a better way of putting it, I am ready to listen to you at the comment section. So at this point, before we continue, please, if you have not subscribed, I will be glad if you give me that love. Subscribe. That's all I need from you now. Subscribe, like, share, and criticize the video. Also, give me your own opinion. This is part of my 7. There's one more remaining, 1 or 2 more remaining. And if you give me mine, if you give me yours, we'll also talk about it. So please subscribe. Now we go to the number 6. The number 6 of my 7 common sense reasons why she lost was over-reliance on identity politics. This is not peculiar to Kamala Harris, but the entire Democrat Party. For them, individuals must be spread into tiny group instead of treated as individuals who have individual needs. Of course, individual is the group writ large. So if you treat people as individual, you reach their needs closer, and then they're a member of a bigger community, but their problems are individualistic. On the contrary, the Democrat and Kamala Harris in this election treated people as a part of a group, in which case there are bundles. Sometimes when you pour water on a bundle, it doesn't touch every single unit of it. And that was so evident on the exit poll, that even the people she believed that were with her, were much less with her than, or much more with Trump than they were with her. And that was because the bundle couldn't get what was given as a whole. I don't even know the meaning of what I'm saying here, but if you understand what I mean is that taking individuals as part of a group work, but not all the time, because every person has a unique problem. In this situation, people were worried so much more about their groceries, their gas, their cost of living, than they were worried about being white or being black or being member of the LGBTQ. So, but also the influence of the horde of the elites around her prevented her from spreading her tentacles. They insulated her from the first shock she was supposed to have, to see how myopic her campaign was. The influence of the Hollywood stars, the influence also they gave to her campaign, made her believe that she has the grassroots. Unlike Trump, who was putting himself out there all the time, and people come from all over the country, 20, 30, 40, 50, up to 100,000 to see him wherever he was. Kamala used the big stars, Hollywood stars, Taylor Swift like, Oprah Winfrey. He used them to circle herself so that wherever she was and they were there, people troop. There was a difficulty in deciphering why were they here. Were they here because of their overwhelming acceptance and love of Kamala Harris, or because they want to have a show, they want to have a glimpse at their role model? At the end, this also hurt them so much because she was regarded as an out-of-touch San Francisco liberal, which she was, as a matter of fact. So her concept of moderating was wiped out by her constantly attaching herself with the superstar instead of the common people who had the number to elect her. So at the end, the effort of those people, of course, they have influence, but the influence was not strong enough to counter the influence of the common people who were the people who were going to the vote and who has a greater number than the elites. So in my view, that played a very difficult role in letting her pass through to the required number. Also, it has
This is a
other
time when
influences.
voters,
Watch.
especially here in Pennsylvania, are inundated with commercials and ads. They just want it to stop because it's every commercial. But many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners, every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition surgeries
you know, you got to
happened
take
during
responsible for what
his
happened in your
presidency.
administration.
Yeah, no surgeries happened in his presidency.
It's
So
anyway.
this is a time when
So, going so much for identity segmentation made her to ignore one of the most unique demographic that helped Joe Biden a lot in the 2020 election, which were the young people, especially young men. And generally, she had a problem with connecting with men. The black African American men rejected Barack Obama because he was condescending, and I think also the Hispanics and other men rejected both Barack and Michelle because of their terming them as being misogynistic and sexist and all those stuff. So also, even the CNN posts have a way to describe how her not considering the plight of young men affected her bid for election.
Did an election that was supposed to revolve around women's issues actually come down to the plight of men, young men? The 2024 race long ago turned into the boys versus girls election, with polls showing Harris performing significantly better among women and Trump among men. But the question was, how big will the gender gap actually be? Well, we all know now it was big enough to hand Donald Trump the presidency. More than half of the male vote nationwide, 55%, went to Trump, 42% to Harris. Men under 30 saw a dramatic shift from supporting Democrats in 2020 by a 15 percentage point margin to swinging back to the GOP by 13 points. A CNN exit poll also found men under 30 in Pennsylvania favored Trump by 21 points. In 2020, Biden won that same group by 9 points. A part of President-elect Donald Trump's campaign strategy involved using hypermasculine voices like Hulk Hogan and Kid Rock, UFC CEO Dana White. Democrats may have miscalculated the strength and importance in appealing to men. On their party's website, under the headline, "Who We Serve," Democrats showed a diverse list of minority groups, including LGBTQ+, Americans with disabilities, Pacific Islanders, Native Americans, women, many other communities. No mention of men.
The problem with segmentation of individuals according to their race, their gender, their ethnicity, or their sexual orientation is before you complete the segmentation, some people, some group, some individual, some unit get themselves forgotten, and that was the case in the situation concerning young men. They were totally forgotten, and that came to bite her. They constituted one of the major units that skyrocketed Biden's both electoral college and popular votes. As a matter of fact, he won them in such a margin that it was so significant in his total winning. But this time around, Trump will get a majority of the lion's share of this group, the young men, because as it was evident, Kamala Harris has problem with young men. Obama couldn't help, as we already mentioned. Michelle couldn't help, and even the so-called Hollywood elites couldn't help in that regard, because the young men that came to enjoy the show and went home. When they went home, they looked towards the man who said that he will help them to be able to enjoy American dream. That being that, we go to the final point, which is Kamala Harris' inability to differentiate herself from Biden. When all other problems were huge, the number 1 to 6 were really as units devastating to her, put together more devastating. But the one that did the strongest blow was her inability to separate herself from Joe Biden, who majority of the people have said that his policy hurt them, hurt their family, hurt their economy, hurt their livelihood, that reduced the quality of their life. And as a matter of fact, she was part of his ticket. Of course, everyone knows that the vice president has limited role to play in the presidency, in the running of the country. That was what I think Sonia had in mind when she put that question, what would you do differently from Biden? But the problem was because of her inability to, either because of the inability to articulate her point, or because she was playing safe. She gave an answer that not Trump and his campaign not just took advantage of, but an answer that I believe hurt her as much as the garbage comment from Joe Biden. Let's see how that question was posted by Sonny on The View and how Kamala Harris responded.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you just heard, please share, like, comment, and subscribe for more.